The world has once again been taken aback by Tamar Braxton, and this time the discovery is nothing short of explosive. The bombshell news that ignited social media is still leaving fans in shock. "I'm pregnant and it's Mendeecees' baby," Tamar herself said with unwavering conviction. The internet erupted in curiosity, incredulity, and pure fascination as soon as she said those words. There is nothing more spectacular about the timing. Only a few weeks following rumors of conflict between Mendeecees' inner circle and Tamar started to circulate. The public and private spheres have now intersected in the most thrilling way imaginable. The statement was made during what was meant to be a private meeting, according to those close to the Braxton family. However, the news leaked in a matter of minutes, leaving everyone reeling from the shock. Almost immediately, the family was split up. While some came together to show Tamar love and support, others found it difficult to conceal their disbelief, perplexity, and even annoyance. Friends who were there remember the room being filled with an almost intolerable stench. A sensation of incredulity, whispered accusations, and gasps hovered in the air like an impending storm. Stunned, fans are debating, analyzing, and questioning the implications of this pregnancy for Tamar and Mendeecees as well as the Braxton legacy as a whole on every media available. The stakes are really high. Questions concerning loyalty, previous relationships, and Tamar's public image's future have been raised by this disclosure, which has caused repercussions that might potentially affect every aspect of their personal life. As if the atmosphere wasn't already high, insiders said that almost immediately after the news was made public, Tamar and Mendeecees got into a private altercation, raising their voices and letting their emotions run wild to the point where everyone in the room had to hold their breath. What started out as a private confession has grown into a spectacle. The drama is far from over, with family dynamics on the verge of collapse and the public demanding answers. And there's no doubt about it. Tamar's statement has sparked a flurry of conjecture, loyalty tests, and emotional outbursts that will undoubtedly dominate news coverage for weeks or even months. The question that everyone is asking is straightforward but explosive as the entire globe watches. How will alliances, relationships, and the lives of people affected by this devastating news change? From the time Tamar Braxton made her startling statement, the tension in the room was evident. As the words reverberated, the quiet murmur of conversation gave way to a startled silence. "My unborn child is Mendeecees." The mood suddenly changed from a laid-back get-together to high-stakes drama as eyes widened and jaws dropped. Friends who had been drinking wine and discussing ordinary things in life abruptly stopped talking. Mendeecees, who had been standing a few feet away, clearly stiffened, unsure whether to cheer or prepare for conflict. His expression was a complicated mix of incredulity, horror, and what appeared to be panic. Before anyone could even realize how serious the situation was, whispers started to spread. Barely able to control her feelings, one of Tamar's closest friends muttered under her breath, "This changes everything." Another acquaintance, sensing the impending viral storm on the internet, quickly took out her phone to record the occasion. Fans who were already conjecturing about Tamar's private life went crazy. Instant screenshots of the event were leaked. With trendy hashtags growing by the minute, social media was ablaze. Many people questioned Mendeecees' reactions and the future of the relationship, while others expressed excitement and support or open amazement. Tension was equally acute within the Braxton home. Waves of family members showed up. Some people called as soon as they learned the news. Others appeared out of the blue with the same mixture of interest, worry, and condemnation. Tamar's siblings exchanged glances that said a lot. Some were obviously encouraging, while others were obviously concerned about how this disclosure may affect their own family dynamics and public opinion. Arguments erupted almost immediately as emotions ran high. Mendeecees attempted to speak, but the weight of what had just come to light caused his words to stumble. "I had no idea." His customary confidence was rattled as he stammered. Tamar, on the other hand, maintained her composure, her eyes sparkling with unshed tears while her voice remained firm. She said, "I didn't intend for it to come out this way, but it's the truth, and it's time everyone knows." The intensity of the moment appeared to cause the room to vibrate. The obligations, ramifications, and outcomes of this pregnancy sparked intense discussions. While some family members concentrated on the possible scandal, others voiced concern for Tamar's. The friends who had gathered were divided between protecting themselves from the impending media frenzy and providing emotional support. In the meantime, social media users analyzed every motion, pause, and facial expression, transforming small subtleties into significant discussion topics. There was an unrelenting demand for updates due to the public's voracious curiosity. As if there wasn't enough tension in the room. Soon later, Mendeecees' inner circle arrived, creating even another level of intricacy. Rumors about continuing affairs, prior relationships, and past betrayals started spreading like wildfire. Friends, distant cousins, and even Mendeecees' ex-partners all offered their perspectives on the matter. Some are openly critical, some are doubtful, and some are encouraging. It seems like Tamar's announcement set off an unanticipated chain reaction of drama. They were exchanging private texts at breakneck speed. Alliances were forming and disintegrating in an instant, and long-buried secrets were suddenly coming to light. How Tamar and Mendeecees would handle this tempest was a topic of constant conjecture among fans. The question of whether the pregnancy will strengthen or weaken their bond was discussed by commentators. The debates inside the room intensified as Hollywood experts alluded to possible reality show potential, further blurring the boundaries between private life and public spectacle. Emotions spilt over into fights, causing friends to step aside in shock. Despite being quiet, Tamar's voice had an unwavering firmness that prevented denial. She said, "This isn't about gossip anymore. It's my body, my life, and my decision. It will be a problem for everyone else." Mendeecees' reaction was a mix of bewilderment and defensiveness. He paced a little and ran his hands through his hair, saying, "I don't know what to say. This is a significant amount." The drama was not at all restrained. Concerns about future ramifications, possible retaliation, and how this announcement would impact relationships, professions, and reputations were expressed by family members. In an effort to keep the growing tension from turning into a full-fledged argument, some attempted to mediate. However, any attempt at peaceful conversation was short-lived due to the tense atmosphere. Online discussion threads, comments, and intense debates ensued when fans saw glimpses of the altercation leaking through private messages and social media. Already, the story was positioned as one of the year's most startling events in celebrity news. In the meantime, Tamar's close friends and siblings had to face their own emotions. Their responses were a mix of fear, surprise, loyalty, and even jealousy. Despite its small size, the space felt oppressive due to the emotional intensity it contained. Arguments quickly changed from one subject to another. Family honor, public reputation, personal histories, and financial obligations were all at stake. But Tamar remained focusing on the emotional and personal significance of her pregnancy rather than the conjectural rumors that surrounded it. When one of Mendeecees' friends, who had previously remained silent, spoke out and made a remark that shocked everyone in the room, the tension reached a new high. "You both need to think about what this means, not just for yourselves, but for everyone around you," he continued. The heated exchanges were momentarily halted as everyone examined the consequences after the comments struck a chord. However, even during that brief period of relative calm, rumors about previous transgressions, possible betrayals, and unsolved conflicts reappeared, reminding everyone that the declaration had not happened in a vacuum. It became more and more obvious as the evening went on that this was just the beginning. Every look, every word, every action suddenly carried a great deal of meaning. When seen through the prism of this dramatic revelation, Tamar and Mendeecees found themselves at the epicenter of a storm that went well beyond their immediate social circle. As images, films, and real-time updates started to circulate, public curiosity only grew. Each one was examined for subtle hints and hidden meanings. There was constant conjecture. On all social media sites, inquiries concerning their relationship's time, goals, and future course were commonplace. Supporters came together to show their love and respect for Tamar's courage. Critics questioned the timing, the motivations, and the possible repercussions for all parties. The emotional intensity did not diminish as the night became darker. Plans were discussed in quieter, more strained conversations that replaced arguments. The reality of what this pregnancy entailed started to sink in as decisions were considered. Unsure of how to handle the complicated emotional terrain he suddenly found himself in, Mendeecees wavered between defensiveness and vulnerability as he continued to process the eno. Conversely, Tamar exuded a subdued resolve, taking charge of the story and demanding her freedom to be honest and independent. The inner circles, friends, and family all were aware that their roles had changed. There was no going back to normal. Every move was viewed through the elevated prism of celebrity scrutiny, alliances were examined, and allegiances were put to the test. Fans eager for more conjectured about possible social media posts, interviews, and exclusive disclosures that may clarify every aspect of this tragic tale. The knowledge that any mistake, any word said or not said, may instantly make headlines added to the urgency. No one could deny the electric tension that pervaded the room, even though everything remained physically unchanged. The stakes were obvious, and even while talks went on, the announcement's weight persisted, influencing every exchange, every gesture, and every idea. This was more than just personal news. Fans, insiders, and family members had already started to be enthralled, divided, and electrified by the story. Tamar's audacious statement had started a series of events that would have far-reaching effects. And since then, every second has been tinged with suspense, conjecture, and the drama that only such a revelation could produce. The story had taken on a life of its own, promising that the upcoming chapters would be equally chaotic, emotionally charged, and wildly unexpected, from whispered confrontations to public speculation. There was no comfort the morning following Tamar Braxton's shocking revelation. Just an intensification of the drama that had already taken over her life. Overnight, social media exploded, with memes, hot takes, and reactions flooding every platform. Every video and face expression from the previous evening was being analyzed by fans, who were making headlines out of even the simplest gestures. Every minute, the number of trending hashtags increased, each conveying a sense of astonishment, incredulity, and curiosity. Mendeecees, still in shock over the revelation, had to deal with a deluge of private messages, calls, and texts in addition to public scrutiny. Family members and friends who had remained mute the previous evening felt obliged to speak, giving counsel, cautions, or just expressing their shock. Even when the pair tried to have private chats, the animosity between them was evident. Mendeecees said, "We need to figure out how to handle this," in a tone that was both frustrated and afraid. Sensing his hesitancy, Tamar gave a forceful response. "We don't have time to sugarcoat or conceal it. Regardless, people will converse. I will no longer pretend." The inner circle of the newlyweds started to organize. Publicists, advisors, and even close friends intervened, each with their own ideas about how to handle the fallout. The intense discussions surrounding interviews, social media posts, and possible reality show aspects revealed not only the pragmatic issues but also the underlying feelings that were running strong. The already tense family dynamics were being closely examined. The timing and public nature of the news caused conflicting emotions in Tamar's siblings, including fear, disbelief, and occasionally even resentment. "I love her, but this is going to change everything," a sister muttered to a close friend. In the meantime, Mendeecees' friends and family discussed the ramifications of parenthood, accountability, and the potential difficulties of a widely reported relationship. Speculation and media frenzy were further fueled by rumors about previous transgressions and covert encounters. Every small occurrence was exaggerated. A brief gaze between Tamar and Mendeecees was scrutinized, examined, and shared on various platforms as possible proof of conflict, guilt, or covert plans. In an attempt to link together every known interaction, fans developed elaborate timelines. Every mysterious social media post that looks for a secret story, The marriage was under increasing pressure. Tamar had to navigate her pregnancy while controlling the public's expectations, opinions, and curiosity. She has always been extremely protective of her image and personal reality. Mendeecees found it difficult to go from a private person to a prominent personality in a media circus. During private conversations, emotions spilled over and confrontations broke out over small points of contention that would have gone unnoticed otherwise. Why must everything be about drama? At one point, Mendeecees let out a cry and frustratedly ran his hands through his hair. Because it's the world we live in. Hiding it won't make it go away, Tamar retorted, equally frustrated. The involvement of friends and advisors only made matters worse. Some said that transparency was crucial and called for quick media responses. Others, concerned about the possible effects on relationships and employment, advised caution. Loyalty was put to the test and alliances quickly changed as a result of the divergent advice, which caused friction not just between Tamar and Mendeecees but also inside their different inner groups. The public's response, meanwhile, turned into an unrelenting tide. Memes and GIFs reframed prior performances, interviews, and social media posts in light of the baby announcement. Conspiracy theories and harsh criticisms were interspersed with offers of love and encouragement. As the pair tried to manage their personal lives, the attention was unavoidable. Influencers and media outlets profited from each advancement. Paparazzi were reportedly stalking known spots, according to insiders. Friends were being asked to make remarks, and even small tasks became the subject of rumors. Every utterance made in public. Every small movement has more meaning. The emotional roller coaster went on inside Tamar's house. The rooms were filled with passionate arguments, emotional confessions, and late-night conversations. Mendeecees' attempts to reassure people occasionally backfired, leading to tense and hurtful encounters. Tamar had to maintain her strength while controlling her own emotions and shock, not just for herself but also for the persona she wished to present. Family relationships were just as complicated. Siblings who had kept their distance from each other were now drawn into the chaos. Each took sides, gave counsel, or expressed worries that occasionally turned into confrontations. Once informal confidants, friends evolved into mediators, middlemen, or perhaps unintentional catalysts for more conflict. Because of the strong emotional stakes and the weight of public scrutiny, even small miscommunications were exaggerated. Another element of difficulty was the expectation of possible public declarations and interviews. Both opportunity and worry were generated by rumors of exclusive TAL's reality program specials and social media announcements. Friends and advisors argued incessantly over timing, phrasing, and possible consequences, balancing the need for narrative control with the necessity for honesty. Every choice looked enormous, full with danger and repercussions. In the meantime, the couple dealt with personal issues that were not visible to the world. Managing one's emotions, making plans for the future, and resolving unsolved issues from the past become daily challenges. Arguments and frustration were punctuated with heartfelt and humorous moments. The emotional terrain was tumultuous, reflecting the increased strain on both people. Tamar worried about how to safeguard herself, her pregnant child, and her heritage as she considered how quickly things had escalated. In a private conversation with a close friend, she said, "I didn't expect this to explode like it has. But now that it has, we must be cautious, astute, and, if possible, unified." Even as he struggled with shock and doubt, Mendeecees saw how serious the situation was. There was a great deal of responsibility, scrutiny, and potential repercussions. He was aware that his decisions, words, and deeds would be scrutinized both in private and in public, with enduring effects. The drama only grew more intense as the days passed. Fans kept speculating. Hints of conflicts behind the scenes were disclosed by insiders. And every detail was picked up by the media. There was no space for privacy or normalcy because Tamar and Mendeecees were enmeshed in a whirlwind. Conflicts and emotional altercations persisted, interspersed with times of introspection, openness, and calculated preparation. Once private, the couple's relationship was now the center of attention for a national audience. Every development was exaggerated and discussed incessantly. As friends, relatives, and advisors negotiated their respective roles in the developing story, allegiances were put to the test. Fan theories, polls, and popular hashtags kept the subject at the top of the public's mind as social media speculation reached a fever pitch. Every new fact and revelation added to the already complex web of public and personal pressures. While managing their own feelings, Tamar and Mendeecees had to face the unavoidable fact that their personal lives had turned into a spectacle and that every move they made would be examined, evaluated, and possibly used as a weapon in the public opinion arena. As the week went on, the pair was under more and more pressure to tell the narrative in public while striking a balance between strategy and authenticity, pragmatism and emotion, and public impression and personal reality. The days were full of passionate conversations, emotional highs and lows, and continual thinking about what to do next. Tension, conjecture, and the ubiquitous presence of a media storm were continuously contrasted with intimate and connecting moments.